Hello, everyone. Looks like you have a spare moment or two, and I want to thank you so much for sharing them with me here on my inaugural YouTube video. I've been thinking of making content in a YouTube video for quite some time. I've been gathering things really in the past couple of weeks to get it all set up and maybe even do some production. I've accelerated my plans due to some very sad news, which is comic book writer Stan Lee has passed away today at the age of 95. I want to do a tribute video for him. Not that I'm going to be talking all about him and spouting facts, but definitely want to focus my first video on content that revolves around the great Stan Lee. He's been so influential in a lot of pieces of my life as I've been reading comics for quite some time. Spider-Man, the X-Men, all the cartoons, the 30 cameos that he's been in for the Marvel movies, at least the ones that started in the 2000s with X-Men and Spider-Man and so on and so forth. So it's really been something, for whatever reason, that I've been thinking about. I mean, it was a couple weeks ago where I was thinking about, wow, Stan Lee is getting up there in age. We're going to be to the point here and rather soon where he's not going to be making his cameos in the movies anymore. I didn't know it would be this soon. I mean, I understand it. There's certainly nothing that you can't understand about a 95-year-old gentleman passing away. But he is the godfather of Marvel comic books and really comic books in general. He's certainly the most famous comic book writer, although if you're a staunch reader and follower of comic books, you certainly might disagree. But to the overall populace, everybody knows Stan Lee. Everybody knows Stan Lee is synonymous with Marvel and is still very present in the medium, although it looks like today a new era is starting, or at some point here, starting after Avengers 4, we're not going to see Stan Lee in cameos anymore. But nonetheless, although it is sad, I certainly want to celebrate. I think that's appropriate when someone passes, that we celebrate the life they led and what they mean to us. So today, I'm going to make my inaugural video here on YouTube around the top 10 Stan Lee creations. All right, coming in at number 10 is Nick Fury. I don't know how popular of a character Nick Fury is in the comics. He's not one that I particularly followed, although I do know he is involved in a lot, Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. Right now he's even the Watcher, or at least a version of him. Looked like David Hasselhoff, white guy, brown hair, kind of the Doctor Strange, graying on the side there. Your average super spy, with a gun and an eye patch. Obviously, most people know him from the Marvel movies, where he's played by Samuel L. Jackson, and he's certainly the linchpin to everything that kind of goes on in the MCU, from being involved with S.H.I.E.L.D., then creating the Avengers. Now he has a connection with Captain Marvel. So very important character, especially in today's MCU. Obviously, he was white in the comics, and they casted Samuel L. Jackson, who is a black man, to play him in the movies. I think it worked. I don't see any problem with it. In the comics, they have made it so that the version in the comics is now more reminiscent of what's in the movies. I think it's his son now, who's named Nick Fury. In the Ultimate Universe, he was basically, that's what they modeled Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury off of, is the Marvel Ultimate Nick Fury. So certainly an important character, and absolutely you can thank Stan Lee, and of course Jack Kirby was also co-creator, but influential character, more so for me now with the MCU, so he's going to come in at number 10. All right, and coming in at number 9 is Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. He, of course, was created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Another character where I don't know how popular they would be in the general populace, just in the comic books. Again, though, very, very powerful, very influential, part of the Marvel Illuminati, godlike almost. So, but I don't know how much of a mainstream character he ever was, seeing as that he's like a goofy-looking wizard guy. Definitely to people that like D&D, they like Doctor Strange. And that's my uncle, actually. I have an uncle who has always loved Doctor Strange, and of course still to this day does. I know people that didn't know him in the comic books enjoy him in the new MCU movies, and he is pretty cool. The actor does a great job. I love the scenes between, him and Iron Man and the snarkiness going on. And he has the time gem, or at least had the time gem. Spoiler alerts, by the way, if you didn't already know that. Of course, it was taken away from him, or he gave it up, rather. So, important character in the comic books. Newer character in the MCU, but from what I can tell from people in my family, other than myself and my uncle that maybe don't know the comics, are still really, really enjoying him. So he's got a lot of fans. He's really cool in my opinion. I mean, the Sorcerer Supreme is just awesome. So coming in at number 9 is the awesome and powerful Doctor Strange. I know there are certainly maybe people that argue he should be higher on the list. I totally get it. Let's talk about it. Leave a comment. But I think number 9, in my opinion, is a good spot for Doctor Strange. At number 8, we have Black Panther. Awesome character in the comics. He was massively influential. King of Wakanda. Married to Storm. Was in the Illuminati. Which the Illuminati, in case you don't know, is a really powerful group in the Marvel Universe that sent Hulk to another planet. And let's see if I can name them real quick. So we had one Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Professor X, Namor, Tony Stark, Iron Man, and Mr. Fantastic. I think that's all of them. They basically make all the huge decisions in the Marvel Universe. And he was a part of them. In fact, there was one storyline not too far. It was a couple of years ago, the new Secret Wars, where Black Panther had the Infinity Gauntlet with all the Infinity Stones. How that happened is another story for another day. So, and obviously, the movie that they did, his appearances in the MCU movies, it's an awesome character. Even better in the MCU. I think they could have started the whole MCU with Black Panther. I mean, I'm not saying they should have, I'm saying they could have. They could have done a very cool angle, him being a new, fresh character, and I think, the actor does a great job. I think it's a very relatable character. I just awesome. Obviously, one of my favorites. As an X-Men fan, he's married to Storm, so, that's kind of how I first even came to know him. Oh, you're married to Storm, okay. But just a super, super cool character. So, Black Panther comes in at number 8. All right, now it's time to get a bit controversial with number 7, the Fantastic Four. Why controversial? Well, because this could go one of two ways, depending on if you're a comic fan or not. If you're a comic fan, you may want to crucify me for having them at number 7 as opposed to something lower. They're the first family of Marvel. One of the first teams, if I think the first team. Just really iconic characters for any comic fan. Susan Storm, Reed Richards, The Thing, the Human Torch, just really, really, really iconic. So you may be thinking, how dare you, D-Square? How dare you have them at number 7 and not at number 1, 2, or 3 or something like that? the other people that aren't comic fans and that only know them from those original movies, which weren't terrible, but the new movies that are new movie that was directed by Josh Trank, absolutely horrible. So if you only know them from the movies, you're probably like, why are these people even on the list? No one cares. So that one could go either way. I put it at number 7 because I know of them, I enjoy them, but certainly not one of my favorites. If I had to choose a favorite, to me, Thing is the most iconic ever since I was young. 3, 4, 5 years old, first getting to seeing the Marvel comics, because of my uncle's comics and cards. I was kind of gravitated toward the Thing. He always looked cool. So I can clearly remember that. So, but other than that, they're okay. So I put them at number 7. All right, and before we get to the top 5, we of course have number 6, and that is Iron Man, the Invincible Iron Man, Tony Stark, which to me may be a controversial pick, much like the Fantastic Four, because it kind of reversed though. If you're a staunch comic book fan, Iron Man, as I mentioned in the Illuminati, very important character, but kind of a B class character. Yeah, in the comics, just, he's there. Yeah, we like him, but definitely not an A class, S class superhero. Was in the Avengers, totally cool, but not the Wolverine or something like that. So, but when it comes to the MCU, he kicked it all off. I mean, because that was the first movie where you looked at that and you said, that's Iron Man. I mean, that is Iron Man. I mean, the actor plays a great Tony Stark. The Iron Man armor looks like the Iron Man armor in the comics. I mean, I wasn't a big Iron Man fan in the comics, didn't read the comics, but I was jazzed when I saw that Iron Man movie, because you looked at that and you like, that is fucking Iron Man. Arguably, the Incredible Hulk movie, looks exactly like Hulk, but as far as the character that played him, you just didn't have that same. Well, now that's the Hulk. You just didn't have that. You had that with Robert Downey Jr. playing Iron Man, doing all the cool stuff that he does. So he is going to be number 6 on our list of top 10 Stan Lee creations. All right, guys, here we are. We have arrived at the top 5, and the person that's going to be on the top of that list at number 5 is Thor, the Asgardian badass for sure. He is popular in the comics, although has always kind of looked and talked ridiculous, but such a cool, powerful character. Has always been a favorite of people that I know that read comics and have been reading comics for a while. So it's even cooler that they translated him to the MCU in a great way. Doesn't look ridiculous. I mean, with his winged helmet, he had that on for a scene or two, but much like Captain America, they pretty much get rid of it, as soon as they can. It doesn't have like the puffy cape, that he has in the comic books, but still he's got it there. They really found a perfect balance when it comes to, you can, again, like with Iron Man, right? You can look at the movie Thor, see him in his costume, and you're like, that is Thor. Absolutely, that is Thor. No mistaking it. Is very close to the source material, although not exactly, because if they did it, it would be ridiculous. He'd be running around with his silver winged helmet and flowing long blonde hair, which I mean he had. So they kind of kept that, but then the cape's going to be all crazy, and he's going to talk, stop thou'st villain, so, obviously they did some modernization there. And I think it worked out because I think it worked out twofold, right? The person they cast with, ladies fell in love with. I mean, I like him. He's cool. Mjolnir, like, oh, great, right? They did an awesome job. He's going to kick some butt. My wife, my mom, ladies at work, they're, oh, hey, he's so cute. He's so cute. But you know what? There's a danger to that in this character. And that is, I seriously know people that now that he cut his hair off for Ragnarok, they're not even interested in any Thor movies or MCU movies whatsoever. So, which to me is ridiculous. But hey, that's just the world we live in. Everyone's different. But yeah, so in the comics, in the movies, awesome, important character that a ton of people love. And of course, we have Stan Lee to thank for that. All right, well, let's keep our list going with number 4 being the Incredible Hulk. There's not really much I can say about this character that already has been said. Even if you don't read comics, even if you don't get into all the MCU movies, you have seen the Hulk. I know you have, whether it be at Walmart or any other store or passing by a movie set. The character's so popular that he survived basically 2 failed movies before he was in the Avengers, which really captured the essence of the character that everybody loved. Important before the MCU in the Marvel Comics, being just beloved because of the strength, the unlimited, unmeasured strength of the Hulk and all the crazy things that he's done in the comics and holding planets together, surviving all sorts of explosions. I mean, his son was born in lava. Just a tough and awesome character, and you've got the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde dynamic there with Bruce Banner. You've got the Hulk, like the strongest character there is, right? And then you have Bruce Banner, one of the smartest character there is. Roll that up into one character that's been around forever, has gone through color changes, all sorts of changes, gone from a Hulk that can't talk to a Hulk that's almost as smart as Bruce Banner. Just a really, really impelling character. And I think he's most famous for his World War Hulk and Planet Hulk storylines that involved the Illuminati sending him off to another planet so that he couldn't hurt anyone on Earth anymore. And then he ended up going through some trials and tribulations there on that planet. They sent him there because they thought it was uninhabited. Turns out it had a whole civilization on it that was ruled by a evil emperor. Nonetheless, Hulk ends up becoming the ruler of this planet and ends up going back to Earth because the spaceship that took him to that planet blew up and destroyed a wife and child that he found on the planet. So he got pissed off and came to Earth and literally just beat everybody to a pulp with his anger. Nobody could stop him. So obviously you can tell he's one of my favorites. And I certainly think he deserves the spot at number 4. You may be able to argue that you think he could go higher. I don't really have a major argument against that. It's just my bias. But awesome character, Hulk, coming in at number 4. All right, guys. Here we are. The top 3. Who's it going to be? I'll tell you who the top 3. I'll tell you number 3 right now is the Avengers. The friggin' Avengers. I will say that I wasn't an Avengers fan in the comics. I guess I'll just reveal it right now. I am an X-Men fanboy. I always felt the X-Men were just a cooler dynamic. But nonetheless, they were still very popular. And how could they not be? Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, later Captain America. You know him in the MCU. And that's what really stamps them in high regard here, because the whole MCU revolves around the Avengers. I mean, you could argue it's Thanos, but I think you'll see in the future that there will be other villains that replace Thanos. But the Avengers is a culmination of different movies involving different characters, all coming together in a crescendo that was just amazing. That was, I talked about Iron Man being like, that's freaking Iron Man when you look at it. And Thor the same way. In the Avengers, that was Hulk's like that. Okay, that's the friggin' Hulk. That's Hawkeye. That's Black Widow. That shot when they kind of all circle together, the main roster there, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, where they all kind of join together in the battle and the camera just kind of pans around them. I'll probably put a shot of that in here. Yeah, there it is. So, I mean, that is just nirvana right there. Because you look at that and you could swear that you've seen that exact same shot in the comics. And I'll talk about this moment. I'll refer to it here in a little bit. But holy cow. I mean, just an awesome set of movies. A reason the whole MCU came together. And if you can't tell, I'm very, as much as I wasn't, an Avengers, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man fan, you can tell how much I appreciate the fact that they did it right. And when you look at the characters, they look like what they did in the comics. And Avengers, for me, truly sunk that in. So I'm putting that in the top 3, in fact, number 3 itself. So, again, personal bias here, which we'll get into a little bit more. You could argue that they could be higher. I don't have a super strong argument against that, except for me, they're at number 3. All right, so at number 2, we have Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man. Man, Spider-Man has been around and been popular forever. I mean, obviously, since it came out in the 60s, but, one of the first Marvel movies, all the cartoons, Spider-Man the Amazing Friends, Spider-Man and the X-Men, multiple more animated series after that, one of the most beloved characters, great rogues gallery, right? His arch enemies are just very iconic. In fact, one of them has his own movie coming out here soon. Or no, it's already out. I just haven't seen it yet, and for reasons I may talk about in another video. But just, when you think of comic books, you think of Peter Parker, the Amazing Spider-Man, and all that he's been involved with in the comics as well, at varying power levels. Some storylines great, others are just complete trash. The whole Clone Saga thing, that's something that even when I was a kid, I just, checked out of. Not a good move there on Marvel's part, but nonetheless, he's always been iconic. That certainly anyone that was fans of Spider-Man didn't not become fans because of that storyline. And just everyone loves him. I like him. He's okay. Not exactly my cup of tea, but I'm definitely in the minority there. When you think of comics, you just the first thing that pops in your head, or at least one of the first things that pop in your head, is Spider-Man. So he's going to be our number 2. And again, you may argue that he should be number 1, but I have a different argument. All right, everybody, before I reveal the Stan Lee creation that is the top of our list, I'd like to go through number 10 through number 2. Nick Fury was number 10. At number 9, we had Doctor Strange. Number 8, we had Black Panther. Number 7, we had the Fantastic Four. Number 6, we had Iron Man. Number 5, we had Thor. Number 4 was the Hulk. Number 3 were the Avengers. And number 2 was Spider-Man, which leaves us at the top spot, the X-Men. That's right. I believe the X-Men are the top Stan Lee creation. And certainly Spider-Man was iconic. The Avengers, Hulk. But for me, I am a X-Men fanboy. My favorite superhero is Colossus, who is, of course, on the X-Men most of the time. You think about the 90s X-Men cartoon and how popular that is. Even as a little kid, I remember a special at Pizza Hut involving the X-Men where you could buy the VHS tapes of their Fox Saturday morning TV show, which at the time was not readily available. I can't think of any other superheroes that have had promotion like that through Taco Bell. I remember they had something similar with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we all know how iconic those characters are. But certainly the X-Men take the top spot here as far as popularity. I always like them more than the Avengers, which is probably why I enjoy the Avengers movies more, because I don't know quite the detail. And unfortunately, with Fox's X-Men series, you can't look at those characters and say, oh, that's Wolverine. In fact, when you look at the original X-Men movie, the only reason you know who the characters are is because, oh, that guy has a visor. He must be Cyclops. Oh, that's a redheaded lady. That must be Jean Grey. Oh, and there's Storm with her long silver hair. Okay. Oh, and there's Wolverine because he has stupid haircut and knives that come out of his fist. Something you can kind of tell I may be a little bit bitter at. But it doesn't change the fact that they are my absolute favorite comic book character team. And I absolutely love them. Absolutely love them so much that I have to have respect and give thanks to Ryan Reynolds, an actor I don't like, and Deadpool, a character I don't like, because Ryan Reynolds made the Deadpool movies happen, and the Deadpool movies have the most comic accurate characters that I've seen in any X-Men film. Oh, and of course, one of those characters happened to be Colossus. Comic accurate. Not with the metallic crap that they had in the first, the X-Men 2 and X-Men 3. Looked awesome. I have Ryan Reynolds to thank for that. And Deadpool. But nonetheless. So, the X-Men, just to me, you cannot get any more iconic. I mean, just think of how many times you've seen Wolverine. Character so popular that not only was an X-Men, he was also an Avenger. He was actually at a Fantastic Four one time, but that's obscure. That's an obscure team. But in the 90s, the X-Men and Wolverine were everywhere. And that's why they are the number one Stan Lee creation. Well, there you have it. Once again, thank you so much for watching my inaugural video. A project that's very important to me, and the subject matter is very, very sad, but one that I think we can all agree that Stan Lee made the earth a better place, not only through his comics and creations, but his philosophy as well. He thought that the Marvel Universe was a reflection of the world right in front of us, and that, we can all be superheroes to somebody. So hopefully you come back and enjoy more videos of mine once I post them. Until then, though, guys, please be kind to everybody, and no matter what your situation is, guys, I guarantee you, if you just focus on helping people, everything is going to work out. So hopefully I'll see you again soon. Or, in the more likely scenario where this video is just viewed by my wife, children, and other extended family, I'll just simply say, I love you all very much, and thank you so much for your support. Have a great day, everybody.